Greetings, Warlords. Welcome to SAGA Thursday, the show all about the skirmish miniatures game from Studio Tomahawk. Joined on this monthly episode once again by Monty. Monty, how's it going?
It's going great, Rodge. How about yourself?
Good. So, I saw you a few weeks ago at the Saga Storm.
It was fun
to meet up.
We even pulled it home. Team Rodge getting the big battle, big win. And you gave us the low fives. We ran down the line and slapped hands.
That's right. Yeah, you're the final banner there. I had you on my flank. I couldn't have done it without you. I needed that little extra money cushion here. Now, part of our battle plans were the elephants. And so in this episode, main topic will be the elephant. I'm going to have a spicy title. Are elephants worth it, Monty?
Yes.
Just to draw the viewers in.
Yes.
So, yeah, we both ran them, and we played against a ton. Saw a lot of 2D pachyderms in action, so we're going to talk about those. There's a few things I want to hit before we get to that. These Monty ones are a little potpourri style. We hit a couple different topics, so I do have a little breaking Saga news. Nothing too crazy, just Fimbulwinter has been announced. So I think I must have did it just like a couple days after our last podcast or recorded it or something, because I've been posting stuff about it for a while, but breaking the news here on the show. So Crusader Kings got a sweet logo. So it's Age of Crusades, old friends and new enemies, and yeah, let's throw some Normans in there too. What the heck?
Awesome. Love it.
So, yeah, definitely leaning into the fun aspect, just trying a few different things. So, Monty, are you heading over for that one?
100%. I will be there. Yes, with all the other warlords. It's going to be amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, it's going to be a blast. I'm going to be running the Pagan Raiders. This is it. I've set it up. I'm going in. I'm playing. Hopefully, at least one game more if I could swing it. 5 perfect scenarios for the Pagan Raiders. I'm just giving myself a golden ramp here with all the scenarios and everything, but it's going to be a fun one. Monty, did you look at the scenarios? We got some new stuff there.
Right. I did see some really interesting stuff. I haven't quite got to the point where I'm like breaking it down and taking notes. But I have an idea. Like right now, I have no Age of Crusades warbands, but I have one started and another one in the box. So I'm going to hopefully have 2 to choose from. I'll look at the scenarios, maybe make my final call.
Awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, I've got some new stuff there. The packet will be over on the Discord, link below. If you want to check those out, give them a go. But the other thing we're doing is a team event, and we're breaking it up based off religion. So all the Muslims boys, the Orthodox Christians will be on their own team. The Latins, split those up into East and West for now, and then we've got the Pagans rocking it out there. Monty, if you want to be on the winning team, which one of those is... it's looking good to you.
So would you make fun of me if I told you I might possibly paint mutts for the 6th time?
Wow, baby!
I've got new figures and a kind of new color scheme. So I just love the mutts so much. They're so wild and woolly. But I also have a Crusader warband with new models and a nice theme, like competing head to head with what am I taking to Fimble?
Monty, he hasn't decided his faith yet, his team. I don't know. My money's on the Pagans. Monty, you know this.
Of course it is.
But all right. So yeah, check it over. It's gonna be cool. Hope to see you there. This is in Wisconsin, USA, middle of winter, February 17th and 18th, and a very, very nice venue, and it's gonna be a good time. Not too many 2-day Saga events out there.
No.
So there is another event coming up, though, and this is the Rumble on the Rivers. This one's a little sooner, Monty. So this is the one over in... I'm going to bring up my little notes here. This one's in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Okay.
And that's on November 11th, 2023.
Nice.
So it's actually not too far for me or anybody in Illinois or Iowa, but I am going down to the Kansas City Ironman the week before, so I'm not going to be able to head over there, but it is within striking distance for me. And this is a one-day event. I don't see the details on my notes, but it's a SAGA tournament, so you can't go wrong. Can't go wrong.
Is it kind of surprising? We have gone from, kind of a SAGA drought in the Midwest, right? We had Adepticon once a year and, SAGA Storm. And all of a sudden we have events left and right in the Midwest. And I would just throw out here small but still fun stuff. I know the Ohio guys have a 2-day event that's in roughly 1 weekend, 2 weekends out from now. It's the same time that our Feast for Crows is running, but theirs is 2 days.
Feast of Ravens.
So it's like, if you live in the Midwest and you play SAGA, you need to get in a car and travel. Find what's closest.
Good times. Get a fuel-efficient, long-range vehicle. Get your podcast loaded up. Some long drives, but it'll be worth it. All right. So, I wanted to give a shout out to those guys, Mark Bishop, Daniel Broadus. I'm sure they'll do a great job. Another little piece of news. Monty, did you place your pin on the SAGA Player Worldwide Map?
I did. 100%.
Awesome. All right. If you had said no, I don't know what would happen right there. We just would have had to end it.
Dude, you know me. It's all about making connections, finding people. Honestly, this is one of my specialties, if it really counts as a specialty. My wife might snicker. But like someone will say, hey, I'm in Puyallup, Washington, and what's the SAGA scene like? I can actually tell you what the SAGA scene is. Without actually having been there, I just keep up on where people are at and where the clubs are active and try to help people make those connections. So the map and the pin is just perfect for doing that.
Yeah, so this will be just a great ongoing resource to have. So you do have to go through the Discord to get through it. So each of these pins has a player's Discord name on there. Yes, there's some anonymity. I don't know how to say that word, but so it's got their name, location, and that if there's game stores or something in the area, you could have a little tidbit of information. So this is thanks to the patrons on SAGA Thursday. So we got a bunch in after the Alex interview, which is great. And so I put some of the extra funds towards maintaining this map. There is a monthly fee associated with it. So I really want to set a goal here of getting 500 players on this map, 500 pins. So currently we have 166. So I want to set a goal of 500 in one year. So that's going to be the goal. If we hit 500, I'll keep it going. But otherwise, there's a cost. I might not carry it forward if people aren't going to use it. So I'm setting an arbitrary goal of 500. And so there's over 900 some folks over on the Discord, 965. So I think this is definitely possible. There's over 5,000 members on the Facebook, so we want to get to 500 pins on this map. Would that be pretty awesome, Monty? Think of the coverage we would have there.
Right. I mean, Rodge, it's so perfect in every way. Here I sit in the Twin Cities and I shake the trees and I go to Facebook and I try to find ways to make connections because I know there are other SAGA players in the Twin Cities. And at one time I stumbled across, there was a small group of SAGA players like in Bloomington, and I had we'd never met, never seen each other, never had any idea. So the idea of a pinned map and being able to make those connections, it's perfection.
So even after I started the SAGA Thursday, a year or two later, I found out there are SAGA players in my hometown just through a guy who saw terrain auction on eBay, saw that the shipping was from Wausau, and so he connected with him and found out what games he played, and then he was a friend of mine, so he passed it on to me, and then there was a group of 5 or 6 guys playing, and they're, oh, you're the guy, the YouTube. Oh, that's cool. Yep. Yeah, you can play with us. So, the people are out there. Finding those connections is hard with the underground game. So, head on over to the Discord to get your pin there. And We also added to the Discord some additional country-specific sections. So USA broke it down into roughly 4 regions and then added country-specific chat channels. So some of them are being used, some aren't. So hopefully they find them useful. And, it's cool to see other languages being used on the Discord.
Yep.
And, so head on over there. We want to get to 500 pins on that map. And I do want to get the Discord to 1,000 members. So I think if at least some of you folks pop on over to get to the map, we should hit both of those numbers. So, all right. Now let's move on to that juicy main topic here today, which is the elephants. We're looking at Scott's. I pulled this from your folder, Monty. Looks like Scott's Sassanid elephant.
Oh, it's a beauty.
Smashing somebody, Goths probably, from the looks of it. Yep. So Scott has to be the elephant master. So I think he has 3 Indian elephants. Is it 2 or 3? Do you know? I think it's 3.
So it was 2. So you're saying 3. I bet it's climbed to 3 at this point. Okay, yes,
maybe 2 or 3. He's got a Sassanid elephant, and then he had other elephants, just like Victrix elephants that I borrowed to use at Saga Storm. So he's got at least 5 painted elephants in his stable. So, Marty, you surprised me at Saga Storm, rolling up with Carthaginians. One, I didn't know you had them. Maybe you just painted them up in a week or something. But you were... Now, did you use not 1 but 2 elephants for the course of the event?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And I used 1 elephant. So my plan, I think I mentioned it, folks will know I'm trying to get these heavy chariots done, but the painting, I've done a lot of painting, but I just couldn't quite get them done. So I'm like, I want to do them right. Somebody has an elephant that they can loan me. So I asked around to Chris. He was going to, Foreman, he was going to borrow me one. Scott was going to borrow me one. So yeah, I'll take one of Scott's. I know he's got plenty. So I ended up using an elephant with my Carthaginians, and it was cool. Okay, Saga Storm isn't a tournament. It's an event where we just get together and have fun. So I wasn't really expecting much from the elephant. I've only really looked at them on paper, so I haven't. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I've played a game with the elephant before Saga Storm. Now, Monty, what was your reasons for taking the elephants?
Right. So, Rodge, this is kind of funny. I took Carthage and the wonky build you saw because those were the figures I had left. I had back in April or May. I promised to loan out my ancient Iberians, and that's a big army. And when I did loan those out, that left me with not a lot of ancients left. So I had like just a couple foot warrior units, 2 elephants, and like 3 units of javelin cav. I mean, so that was like, I didn't have a lot left.
That's a little bit of, that's what the Carthage forces were, just a little bit of everything. So
exactly. Perfect. And I had, I mean, like you, I have had experience with elephants. I've seen them in Tabletop Simulator. We had a pretty good run here when Age of Hannibal came out. There were lots of people running elephants. And boy, I saw them sometimes go down shockingly fast. And so I had kind of a negative image of to me, as I prepared for game day, I'm putting my stuff in the box. I'm like, well, this will be the year when people will get their wins off me. They'll be very happy and it'll be fun. And I'm running 2 elephants and they'll die fast. So that was my attitude going in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, set the bar low and you can only go up from there, right?
Right.
So, let's talk a little bit. So we were both playing Carthaginians, so that's going to skew our perspective slightly, but we know there's a few different factions out there. So you've got the Sassanids pictured here from Age of Invasions, can take the elephants. We've got the Greculi from Hannibal, can get an elephants. We have Macedonian successors, can take an elephants. The Indians get the elephants. That's 5. Can Persians take the elephants? I don't think I've seen.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it. Yeah.
So I think it's mainly those 5 factions. I'm sure there's one. We
Right.
don't really do research around here.
No,
do we,
not
Manny?
before the show.
But,
We just wing it.
yeah, so I think that covers it all. So each one of these boards, I think, has abilities meant to be used for the elephants, whether explicitly or not. So I think the most obvious one is the Indian board. Holy smokes.
Yes.
With some elephant-only abilities. The Assassinate board has a couple elephant-only abilities. And so the Carthage board doesn't really have elephant-specific, just the one ability where elephants or mounts is mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
But so most of the boards have a way to easily slough a couple hits through various mechanisms and or kind of get fatigue removed. So I think the Indians can do both of those. The Carthaginians can slough the hits. The Greculi can slough the hits. The Sassanids, I think they just remove the fatigue, and I'd say the successors kind of remove the fatigue. So I think if you want to play the elephants, to me, the Indian board is kind of where it's at, and they'll be the safest there. Because, like you say, it's a single point, so 5 massacre points are riding on this.
Yep.
And it just takes one hit to go through. Resilience 2 could block up to 6 in a single attack, but we know you can get fatigue in ways other than actually doing wounds. So it literally could be a single hit through a series of events. So I'll say I was fairly surprised over the weekend. I will say that the playtesting that went into this is pretty impressive, because I would say these are, after playing them, I would say they're fair, they're balanced, and they're worth a point.
Yep.
1 Saga point from Army Construction. What do you think about that?
100% agree. 100% agree. It's a hammer, but it is a hammer you can take down. Now, Rodge on an elephant and some of the Indian stuff, that's beastly good. But your basic elephant with, your basic board, the Carthaginians, it can swing well, but it also can go down. It could, with a little bit of bad luck, go down kind of quickly too.
Mm-hmm. So let's just kind of go through their little profile here and kind of break it down. So they form a unit of 1 or 2 figures. Monty, did you ever put them together?
Never, not
just
even once.
For chaos, just pure chaos.
That didn't even occur to me.
Yeah, I can't think of any real reason to do that. I've seen with Indians, they have a number of units with resilience or something like that. So you could take more elephants and still meet the threshold for their rules there. And actually, I think with the Indians, too, is probably the one you could get away with it because they're very difficult to kill. And there's some auto hits being doubled on that particular board where it could be quite juicy. Juicy play. So I think for the other 4 factions, I think probably 1 elephant is the way to go. What base size are your packies on, Monty?
Man, I'd have to go back and look. I think I have 1 on an oval and 1 on a round, and I lean them to the smallest or smaller size, because that is an issue, like getting in, being able to get an angle on a charge, positional warfare. That's where I think the circle was a little better. The oval looks nice. You could create a little diorama with it. You could sneak a skirmisher on there or something, or show someone being trampled. But then you've got, it has a little more issues as far as like fitting it into spaces, where the circle, it's clearly, it's just a little easier to maneuver it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so elephant has to be less than 80 and more than 50 circles. So there's quite a variation there. I'm kind of, I think, whatever you take is fine there. But I think there's something to be said, generally smaller is better, like you say, but having a bigger kind of threat range with the elephant. So, when he goes down, it's a bigger fatigue bomb,
right?
More mad with pain stuff. But elephants, they're trying to get around you and something like that. So there's definitely a range where no cavalry wants to come within a certain distance of the elephant. So having a bigger base would facilitate that, and you could create a bigger kind of no-go zone, or at least, they makes it so they have to scoot a little further if they're going to kind of slide off to your flank, left or right. So I think you could get away with either one of those. Maybe it depends on the rest of your faction and your board, if you have a lot of troops or not, whether the traffic jam will come into play. I definitely was having a little traffic jam issues with the elephant, but let's go on. Armor 5, 4 against shooting. Now, I think that's pretty good. Is that all right, Monty?
Yeah, the armored elephant is pretty aces on armored 5, but then he gets slower. The armor 4 is the weakness. So just if you're new to running an elephant, just be aware you don't want to walk it up right in front of a wall of levy shooters or Cretan archers. You want to have a little care to not give out the cheap shooting hits with that armor 4.
Yeah, so actually at Saga Storm, both Adam and Scott were running the armored one.
Okay,
so,
interesting.
Apparently, and they both won all 3 of their games. It's not a tournament. You can pick your opponents. You take that with a grain of salt, but they found the movement penalty wasn't too big of a price to pay for that extra armor. I guess I'm not necessarily sold on that myself, but they had success with it, and it looks pretty darn cool, I will say. Aggression 5, Monty. Is that enough aggression?
I mean, no, but for the auto hits. If you stack the 2 together, that's the magic.
Yeah, so we'll have to mention the trampling roll. So when a fight's in melee, it adds 2 automatic hits to the hits it scored, and 4 if the enemy closes ranks or they're fighting something with the mount rule. So, I always thought the aggression looked low. 5, you're paying a whole point for that. And then sure, two auto hits, but that only adds up to 7. But it's not quite right, because those auto hit, if you're hitting on 6s or something, those auto hits are gold there. So I think it actually is fair. Once again, it's fair. Monty, were you remembering to use your composite bow shots after every little scoot?
Probably 4/5 of the time, and it would be after charges. I mean, you just have to remember it's just a little 2 dice. It's not going to change the game, but you just plink and plunk, and you keep doing that all game long, and it adds up, hopefully.
Yep. So just remember, after every activation, you can take your 2 shots. As long as you're not exhausted. So you move up, shoot, charge in, shoot again if you made it through without getting exhausted. And then you've always got the option, if you're just going to kick back and just rest for the turn, you still get those 2 free shots to plink away at the enemy. So that's pretty nice. I don't think they ever did anything for me during the event, but roll some dice. You get lucky sometimes, right, Monty?
Right. And every once in a while, very, very situational, but I had my opponent in a tough spot, and my 2 shots, I think I was probably buffing it with Eagle Eye because I had the dice, so now 2 becomes 4, and I was shooting at something that he absolutely didn't want me to kill. And this was the point. I was taking that shot hoping to tease out he would take one of my fatigue to raise his armor. Could have been a mounted warlord, could have been mounted Hearthguard. It could have just been straight up Hearthguard, but there was some reason my opponent got anxious. He pauses, he chews on it, and he goes, "I'll spend your fatigue." And I'm like, yes, yes,
yes.
Oh, that's so good. Don't even care if I hit now.
Bless you, sir.
It happens.
Absolutely. All right, so profile overall is fine, but we get down. So resilience 2 is the big one there, so that's pretty rare in historical Saga. They have presence, but let's go down to animal terror. So this is the other reason that there ends up being a bubble of no entry for some units when you take the elephant here. So units with the mount rule suffer a -1 to their attack dice when they're engaged with the elephant. So if they go in or you get in, either way, it doesn't matter. You're going to have 4 auto hits and they get a -1 to hit. So these are the ultimate cavalry killers. So that's why having just a little bigger base, covering a little more ground, could be good. So they definitely don't want to be within medium or short. That doesn't work against the Indians because they can just scoot a little faster, fatigue free, and get in there. Yeah, so they're going 14 inches. Yeah, it's a huge bubble. It's hard to get away from those guys. Yeah, so these are, yeah, that's a big deal, you know. So you have a portion of the opponent's army that will not engage this unit. Okay, so it might not seem clear on paper, but that's huge.
It's huge.
They will not, unless they're desperate as all get out, and they want to roll some dice, or you know they're putting some resources into this suicide charge. They will not attack this unit. Okay, so I think you might not see that, but I think on paper that's pretty huge. What do you think, Monty?
Right. I'd like to point out just a couple things. So Mount X. So here's the beauty. Mount X. X includes camels because you're playing Age of Alexander, and I was playing successors with 2 units of camels, and I eventually got a double move charge into a unit of camels. I just had to drive them off the field. But
yeah.
But right, it's just like the camels didn't want to be within even a double move, and it was only later in the game that he finally was within range. And I'd point out one other thing. I was in the KC Ironman, and first round I was in trouble against the Romans. I had the Sassanids, and I'm looking around trying to find a move that will pull this game out of the dumpster for me because it just was going so badly. And lo and behold, I quickly did some measurements, and I saw that my elephant was just within 10 inches, and my elephant could just barely fit through a gap in his line with like a move and then the shorter 4-inch charge. The charge was on his warlord and mounted on a horse.
Yeah.
And I dropped the warlord in one go. He fatigue bombs his whole army. The dice is gone. The wheelbase is gone. The determination is gone. And the army's is transformational. So I'm going to say not every time, but sometimes when you can peek and see a double move charge onto a warlord, if the situation's right, you might grab that trade, even if it means your warlord ends up being exhausted in a bad place, just to completely, get that warlord out of there, especially on a horse, I should say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, even if he's on foot, because if he closes ranks, it's the same thing in the end. So, let's talk a little bit about his movement there. So a couple of downsides with the elephant here is his first move is medium, move or charge, and then everything after is short. So we've been talking about 10 inches before. So that's a medium stick and a short stick, get you 10 inches. And then real quick, the other downside, Mad with Pain, if they're shot off, friendly units, friend or foe, can take it. Now, this one always throws me out because it's a casualty. You might assume a fatigue, but it's actually a casualty.
Right.
So any good stories about that?
I do. I have one. It's a horror story. So this is a cautionary tale. If you're going to run 2 elephants, keep them more than the range here is more than S away from each other. I was some months ago playing a Carthaginian build, and the Carthaginian player had an opportunity, and he decided to put the pedal to the metal. He sent in one of his elephants. It went really badly. The elephant was exhausted. Then he sent in the next one to kind of like put the nail in the coffin. It went really badly. He was exhausted. So in my turn, I shot one of the elephants, killed it with the shot. One shot sneaks through. He drops with Mad with Pain. So guess what? He does a check on the second elephant, and the elephant, he rolled a 5, and the elephant's off the table. He's lost 2 elephants, and they did hardly anything. That's 1/3 of his army. So that was an example of like how you got the double elephant and it falls apart. You gotta be careful.
Oh, that's
poor elephant. He got trampled by his blood.
That's amazing. What a tale.
Yeah,
What a
that was
tale
bad.
to
That was my
spin.
opponent was so sad.
Holy smokes. So, yeah, something to be aware of. Tactically, I don't think it had much impact. I don't, maybe killed a model or two in my games. Certainly not enough to affect where I was going to move him necessarily. But those are the downsides. So slow can be a little bit of an extra fatigue bomber, but on the plus side, it kind of solves two big situations. Enemy units, which is the cavalry, and then also the enemy infantry with closing ranks and shenanigans. So it creates a problem for those units as well. Did you find anyone voluntarily closing ranks against the elephant?
So rarely, but a couple times, Greek city-state players had their defensive buffs
Yeah, you
set.
gotta break out the calculator, to
Exactly.
see
And in the moment, they were kind of like, they were like puzzled. And they're like, just a minute, I'm thinking. And I'm like, please close ranks. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an actuary, so I can't figure it out in real time. So I was like, I just wanted the 4 auto hits, and he closed ranks. I'm like, okay, starting at 4 auto hits.
Yep.
Now let's see how many more I can get.
So, yeah, if you're a Greek cities player or any board with troops that close ranks, just kind of do the math before you get to the playing field as a courtesy to your opponent, so you can know when I have this and this, I'll close ranks. Otherwise, mathematically, it doesn't make sense because at that point it is kind of a math problem to solve.
Right.
So
Right.
figure that out for your board and when it makes sense to do that. So the elephants. Would you say that the elephants became a focal point for your battles? Now, you having 2 is a little different.
Yeah.
So I just have 1. Most people are just going to have 1, except for Indians maybe. Because it seemed like for me, a lot of the battles ended up revolving around the elephant because so much was riding on so little, can you do it or not? It's all 100%. Or nothing. There's no in between. You either kill it or you don't. And so it seemed like the focus was drawn to the elephants. What do you
100% true. Just to flesh that even a step further, there was a moment in Feasting and Pillaging. I'm playing the Spartans, and I have got my warriors up on 2 of the objectives, so I'm scoring points. And he had an 8-pack hammer unit of Hearthguard, and he had a choice. I expected him to go after the warriors to try to score the point, get them out of my hands. And I had all my plays set to try to keep the warriors alive and hopefully maybe win that combat. But he went after the elephant. And I mean, that's just like what keeps happening. People shoot at the elephant. They go after the elephant. The elephant has 1 fatigue, and they're like, I need to drop that guy. And I'm like, okay. And dude, without going too deep, when that battle was done, are you ready for this? 7 Hearthguard were dead, and my elephant was alive. Yeah, that's how good the elephant can be.
It's true. People cannot leave that elephant alone. And I think... I don't know what it is. So if you're playing against the elephant, if you can kind of restrain yourself somehow. So in both of my games against the elephant, there's 3 over the weekend. So 2 against Scott, and both the ones against Scott, I couldn't resist. I went for it. In one game it worked, one game it didn't. And then the other game I just played it chill, played it cool, and I think that's the way to go. If you're playing against the elephant, just be cool. Just wait. Don't do anything rash. Don't do anything that's going to leave you hanging if it fails. Because something about these elephants, I don't know. Did you have crazy elephant luck throughout? So you had your Hearthguard tail. So I had the same situation against Hagen. So elephant's exhausted. He comes in. At the end of the day, the elephant hitting on 6s. I got 3 hits plus 2 autos, killed 5 Hearthguard. He doesn't get any hits through, and it's so that kind of stuff can happen because there's so few dice rolls are riding on it. So
exactly,
when plan a strategy around it. But so as the player using the elephant, I think just knowing that he's a target and kind of planning on that,
Right.
and even more because so what would happen frequently is I send him in, does his damage, but he ends up exhausted. And
Yep.
so now if he's exhausted, you know, and they
They're
know
coming.
of where you're going to drop him on your turn. If you know, that's your one opportunity, you know, might not come again. And so that's where those abilities come into play. So I think some of my success was exhausting the elephant and then putting up blood price, whatever, one to slough of fatigue, a tenacity to get some rerolls, and kind of just daring them to come at the elephant. And it ends up being a lot harder than you think because they don't want to do it with cavalry, chariots, or camels. They want to do it with shooting for sure, but with Carthaginians, delay is another tactic that they have to stop one of the attacks. So they end up just having, you know, in the games that I played, they'd have one kind of go at it, and all my abilities were just enough to the elephant survive. And, you know, since I knew he was, you know, kind of really dictated their turn too. It didn't give them freedom to do what they wanted because they had elephant blood in their sights. You know, Monty?
Elephant fever.
Yeah, they had Ellie fever. They cannot resist going after that elephant. And I think you can play to that, you know, line up your abilities because you know they're going. You know, I know that you know that I know that you know, or however, how many times you want to go back and forth on that. So, yeah, what I just said there, is that how some of your games went, or?
Right, 100%. Because here's the thing: in my Carthaginian list, which was built based on what figures I had left after loaning out my other ancients army, they were the muscle. It was either them or a warlord charge, and I think I had also, well, at some point I dumped the Hearthguard, but yeah, really the hammer in my list. My citizens were the two elephants and the warlord, and everything else is warriors. The warrior javelin are kind of annoying, and they're not a hammer at all. They're not going to stick around. And the two units of warriors that I either keep screening or right next to the elephant, the contingent warriors, they're there to support the elephant, really. So, like you said, I had blood price up all the time. I had the re-rolls. When I had enough dice, because, you know, it's kind of slow slogging across the field. I would also sneak in combined tactics because when they come in to kill my exhausted elephant, I get to pull a fatigue. So at least it gives me a little margin, right? Between that and blood price, I've got just a little breathing room for the hits that are coming my way. But yeah, they just kept skating like time and time again. And in fact, with two elephants over 3 games, the mega battle and the 2 earlier battles, I lost 1 elephant, and that was on my charge. My opponent rolled wildly well, and I made no saves. And so I didn't have my buff set up. My buffs were set up for when I'm on defense, not for me to go in and flub an attack and find, oops, my elephant died. But it happens.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that makes sense. So going with the elephant, know he's going to be exhausted, know they're going to come. So you screen with the rest of your troops, you get in the way to limit the shots, you know, I'm talking melee and shooting, you know, just kind of hits that he's going to take. And you just make sure you got enough defensive abilities up to weather it. And so where they really need to stretch and overactivate and do everything to go after them. And then the best part, if they're coming in melee, he's still doing those auto hits.
Yep.
And 5 attacks, you'll get lucky, kill 5 Hearthguard. So, yeah, he ended up being more survivable than I thought most of the time. Another thing kind of not on paper is, you know, he gets fatigued up, but I would still push him in even when he had 2 fatigues. So in my games, he'd get exhausted. You know, I kind of set up delay an attack, block physically with some other models. They do their one attempt at it, fail. He's exhausted. It's my turn. He made it through. Well, I would just rest them, and then I'd charge them into whatever unit had tried to take them out. And then, so I think towards late game, the fatigues don't quite matter as much because they can't ever, you can take 2 wounds safely when you have going with 2 fatigues. So if you're fighting against 4 or 5 warriors, you're just like, well, yeah. I mean, you're not going to do it, you know. You'd have to roll really lucky to take him out in one hit. So I just pushed him in, even when he had 2 fatigues. So he's not like out of the game the way that you would think necessarily when he has all those fatigues. You can still push him forward and play aggressive, especially once the enemy's units are depleted down to 2, 3, 4, 5 guys. You can just safely go in. And then they're, you know, well, normally I'd close ranks, but now I'm not going to do it. So, you know, you're getting the damage through that way. Monty, would you throw your guys in?
Not quite as aggressively. And I don't know why that was. Maybe, I mean, I had 2. I certainly could have been aggressive, but I was trying to, I think I just my style because I was like learning to be confident in the elephants. I started the day with no confidence. I'm like, these are going to be 3 games and I will probably lose all of them. And so after like, what kind of clued me in was there were 2 practice tune-up games. I was helping some Greek city-states figure out how to run line of battle, and I've seen it once. So that made me an expert. So in my training games where I'm playing soft, I'm doing some of these combos and the rolls are wild. And I'm like, it's like the veil is lifted, you know, before my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, that's how that works. Wow. When I stack coordinated with tenacity, re-rolls, you know what I mean? So like, so coming into the game, my confidence was building. Then it was building with each game. So I certainly could have been more aggressive, but it worked out. I mean, they just keep going. They took up so much attention, and I just, when it was all over with, I'm like, holy Hannah. Let me tell you, like, to kind of like long story short, this thing, I liked what I saw in the games I played and how the elephants played so much that my longer term goal in 2024 is to repaint my Carthaginians, but using Aventine for my figures.
Yeah, those are some nice models, nice elephants for sure. And
yes,
you know, their models are great. I was at their site looking at the elephants for sure. I don't like the Victrix elephants. So I'm looking for other elephants out there. And then I started looking at everything else. And yeah, I got to build an Aventine force at some point. So yeah, I think the longer the battle goes on, the better the elephants are going to get. So, you know, maybe that's why everybody's got elephant fever so much, because they know that the longer it goes on, the deadlier they go, because it just gets harder and harder to get past the resilience, and you can't get as many multiple attacks. So to play in with that too, I would say elephants are great at 4 points games, where you don't have a whole army's worth of resources to throw 2 or 3 different attacks with a boatload of dice to take it out. And Monty, would there ever be anyone filthy enough to take 2 elephants in a 4-point game, a 4-point friendly game? Maybe at the last game at Saga Storm, just being casual.
That would be me. That would be me. But I was playing against people with 5 and maybe 6 points. They were buffed up on the other side. It's not like we were going, you know. The person I was playing against was not drinking. Well, actually, he was drinking, but drinking doesn't affect him. So let's just go with that, or at least not like mortals.
Yeah. So I think jokes aside, I think in a smaller point game, just wonderful for an elephant. It'd be so difficult to take that piece out, and then so the way it worked in our big game, you were kind of matched up against another player, 4 points on 4 points. Our team had an extra player, so they had extra points sprinkled around, like you said. But so it ended up being in the middle against Scott and Adam. So they're both running successors, and they both are running armored elephants. And the goal was to take control of the solid cover in the middle of the table. And so I knew like everything rested on, in order to control that objective, just getting rid of those elephants. Because one thing we didn't mention was elephants are infantry. So they don't take any special, they're slowed down like infantry, but they don't take an additional fatigue.
Right.
So once I knew if they could get those elephants in there, if we like attacked them and then bounced, like it was game over, we would never have enough resources to take those elephants out again. They would just slough off all those fatigue. There's not enough defensive abilities. There's just no chance. So I ended up having Luke playing Romans on my side, which is great. Romans love running around in the terrain. They don't get buffs, but they're not adversely affected the way that the phalanx was. So he ended up taking out Adam's elephant on the last shot of the last attempt of the last levy alive, and took out Adam's elephant. And then I just actually charged in my warriors contingent and used combined tactics to put the fatigue on his elephant. So that's one time I used that.
Good one.
And then I just smashed my elephant into his. Monty, did you have any elephant on elephant action?
Not in that particular game. I was facing Romans in the big battle. In a later game, a armored successor elephant came rumbling over and hit my exhausted elephant to drop him. And it goes back to the thing we just talked about. When all the rolling was done, my elephant was alive and his elephant was exhausted too. So it's like so hard to kill.
Yeah. So in my game, they ended up killing each other. Mine was pretty fresh going in, but he just rolled like the Dickens and took him out. So it was a double KO on mine, but I was okay with that because then the phalanxes had to start slogging in to the solid cover. So,
good call.
The elephant actually covers, I think, for those phalanx factions. So Greculi and successors, they can be kind of your secret little ace in the hole. When the enemy won't come out of the terrain, you have a unit that can go in and actually do some damage. And just offhand, you might not expect that is possible, or you would consider it. But it actually, it's fine. It's not worse than any other unit going into the woods. I can't claim cover. I don't think it can claim cover.
Nope.
Yeah, it can't benefit
okay.
from cover. It never closes ranks, never gets any kind of cover. So, so the elephants, just kind of had a big impact on the game. And, large swaths of the enemy force, depending on composition, would just not engage with it, which was big. When it was exhausted, it really dictated the battle. You can play around that. It creates problems with closing ranks. It does, just more damage on the surface than what you would just think from those 5 attacks. And then it can just be tough to take it out. And, when your opponent keeps charging it in with 2 fatigue, but you just can't do anything about it, it gets pretty old pretty quick. I think I did that to Patty 3 times. He just couldn't do anything about it with his galls. He was so depleted. So, there's stuff not readily apparent on paper, I think.
Agree.
Though just the way that everything works out makes it good, makes it fair. There's going to be that one game out of however 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 where they just charge it and shoot it once, and then that's the end of it.
Oof,
but
it's true.
So how did you deploy them, Monty, your elephants? I would usually put them behind to start with, just to keep the enemy honest.
Exactly. So when I'm playing a warband with shooting, I am not going to walk them into a line of fire, and I'm going to keep them away from the shooters. And in my first game, my biggest challenge was the Gauls had a 12-pack levy javelin unit, and he dropped that across my elephants. So I was spending like half the game screening. My contingents are getting between the javelin and my elephants using it. And then I'm using redeployment to keep scooching an extra 4 inches.
Get him some speed.
Get him away from those javelin buggers. Even then, he kind of at the very end, he was finally getting some shots on me. But I managed to kind of take his dice everywhere else before the javelin men could really do their work. But so sometimes if I wasn't worried about shooting, for example, I'm trying to think, one of my Greek city-states, I don't think he had any shooting, or the shooting was a merc that kind of tucks behind and does something generally. He came out and did a little bit of shooting, but it wasn't like levy shooting. He wasn't getting 6 shots. I think it was 4. So sometimes I'd put elephant, warrior contingent, elephant. So now they're out on the wings. Mm-hmm. And then if I need to, the contingent can come in front and screen or shift. But definitely the warriors were there to support, screen, and help protect the elephants as I get them forward and into the game.
Definitely, yeah. So I think there's a couple specific rules for Carthaginians about that and the ranges, but I think Greculi, there's one they want to be near phalanxes. I think the successor, he wants to be near his warlord to slough off 1 or 2 fatigues at the end of the turn. And
so good.
So there's usually a companion that the elephant wants to stick close to. So stick close to your companion if you're playing as the elephant. If you're playing against them, I guess in summary, don't get elephant fever in the first couple turns. But on the flip side, don't leave it till the end of the game because his power will only grow with each turn. So I think as a rule, you can go after the elephant, but just if it doesn't work, if it's going to be disastrous, if it doesn't work, then don't do it. But if you can kind of go after it and, it's off on a flank or something, you're going to bounce off and, it's something that's not going to have a big impact elsewhere, sure, go for it. But if it's like, you're going to lose the game if you don't kill the elephant because you're counting on a fatigue bomb on his army and, other stuff going on, don't do that. But that's my official advice. Anything you want to add to that, Monty?
That's good advice. I want to just add a quick thought. I think, if my memory's right here, and Jed can back us up, Jed did one of our warband coverages on Carthaginians.
Yeah, he did the faction review with me. Yeah.
Right. And I think it was no more than 3 years ago, he took Carthage to an all-comers UK Grand Melee. And I think he may have been using a 2-elephant build. Certainly 1 elephant, but it may have been a 2-elephant build. And honestly, this little weekend, which was just about fun and having some beer and seeing, old friends, I was like, again, here we go again. The veil is lifted. And I'm like, I now understand how Carthage can run in an all-comers event. It now, I should have known earlier, but I kind of played them not quite right. I think it was a few times when I dabbled, and I only would try them here, let them sit for a long time, then I'd play everything else. So, so this whole thing was kind of a revelation, both about Carthage, but also about the power of elephants in a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So overall, I think I got to give a bravo to whoever worked this all out.
Yes.
I know a different team or a person was in charge of this, but I think overall, like I said, I think it's fairly balanced after playing it. You can take it and you'll have fun. You can, if you don't like it, you can leave it at home and you're not shooting yourself in the foot by not taking it. So it's a legitimate kind of call. And I thought it was fun using it. I was really surprised by how effective it was by the end of the weekend and how much fun it was just pushing it around. And a lot of elephant calls out there that weekend, wasn't it, Monty?
That's hilarious. I love it. Just lean right into it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so now I'm thinking, there's those other elephant factions. I'm looking at, I'm building my Carthaginians in a way that I can use them as successors. And so at first I thought, there's no reason you'd ever take an elephant. There's nothing on the board that works with them, but not so, Monty. And then even the Greculi, looking at that, there's some interesting abilities, and that is probably, I think I've maybe gone on air saying that's probably my least favorite Saga board of all time, but maybe, I'll just lean in, give it a chance, and rock it out with the Greculi a couple times, put on my Pyrrhus of Epirus pants, and see how it goes.
Right. And dude, just like a real quick sidebar to that, I suddenly flashed and remembered, like one of the ace abilities on that board, and it's been a little improved, just small touches in the last FAQ, I think it was, is hammer and anvil. And so one of the
Oh,
issues is the slowness of the army, and you want to play hammer and anvil. You want to make sure to make the second part of hammer and anvil work. You have to win the combat. What better way to win a combat than throw a fresh elephant into your target?
yeah.
When he wins, then the Sarissa that are slowly trudging up and within M get to now charge. And so suddenly in one turn, they've gone, I think it would be maybe potentially 10-inch charge, like with the move. And then the hammer anvil play gets them in. And that's like part of the secret sauce to having an elephant in the Graculi build.
So that's, yeah. When I was kind of looking at it, I haven't looked at the Graculi effect stuff. I'll have to go back. But yeah, I saw that Tor was playing the Graculi.
Nice.
Tor, what are you doing, man? Just use successors. But yeah, there's two activation. They're not even activation reaction, but there are two ways to move in the opponent's turn. So that's I thought that was really interesting. And the Carthaginians have a way to move in their opponent's turn. So it's another way to get that elephant moving around, causing some carnage without getting the double activations. So yeah, I think those two boards in particular are probably, there's just kind of hidden elephant stuff in there. You got to go looking for it. It's not obvious on the surface. Let's talk a little bit about the Sassanid elephant. How did you feel playing against Scott when he was using that elephant? And as far as how it was supported, or just any, was he used differently, or was he able to keep it alive easier?
So look, we were kind of early days on the Sassanids, and it takes a little. I think it's one of those boards that takes some reps to kind of get that sorted out. You've got at least the builds I saw were like you've got the cataphracts moving 6 inches, the elephant kind of going slow. They have an aces just take a fatigue away, and I think it's orders and reactions. So it's kind of nice, meaning you could like potentially take it off in your turn or your opponent's turn. So like you could get the elephant fatigued up and get one of those off. So that helps, but I don't remember like a lot of elephant tricks, and I just don't. And I really haven't got my head around the Sassanids. I haven't given them enough reps or practice myself.
Okay, well, I'll have to ask my expert here. I'm doing recording it in 2 days from where we're recording this, the Sassanid review.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's from what I hear, it's more of a challenging board to play.
Okay.
And I was just kind of going through some stuff for the faction review today. It looks like there's a lot of shooting and stuff. So it's a mix of shooting and Hearthguards and elephant, and kind of finding the right mix there. Yeah, I would say the successors, pretty straightforward. Just stay within VS of your warlord as a play. And then, yeah, I think if you want to be the most aggressive, elephant happy, definitely the Indians are where it's at. So I don't know that that's like the best way to play the Indians. Were an Adepticon, the like chariot lists, would they include an elephant too?
Yes, they absolutely would.
They usually would. Or?
Yes. So the kind of, well, at least are the ones I've seen both online in the Winter League and then at Adepticon were 2 points of warrior, the warrior light chariots.
Yeah,
because there's just so many shots come out of them, right?
Shoot well, yeah.
Exactly. So they live fast, they die young, but they do so much damage. And then second wave is trample of the Rodge, and even a second elephant in there, and then some levy maybe buffing out the rest. So it's kind of an interesting combined arms. They're going to get those chariots in, shoot the tar out of you, and then the elephants are just like can't wait to come trampling into whatever's left.
Yeah, they can have a lot of fun. And I think with the other boards, sometimes you could do a double or a triple activation just to get into some cav or something. Just do your 4 auto hits, come in with 2 or 3 fatigues. Yeah, I mean, the Indians can just do that.
Yes.
Come in with no fatigues, and then maybe end the combat with no fatigues, or get the heck out of there.
Yep.
So if you're an elephant lover, go to the Indians. I played against them once and was very impressed with how they worked. I'm sure there's issues there, but yeah, if you love the elephants, go to India and have a blast. Yeah. Is there anything else to say about elephants? We've talked way more about elephants than I thought. I thought this was going to be short,
I know,
Monty.
right? I know. It was like, oh, what can we say about elephants? The last controversy is if your painted carpage is howdah or no howdah. So
Well,
I'm just being a smarty. I'm just being a smarty.
There's like the African elephant, but it's like a North African. That's not the Savannah elephant. It's smaller than the Indian white. Interesting. So, I haven't heard the thing about the howdah. Would it be? It's not written down anywhere that they use.
Yeah, I think it's on a coin, but I'm so far from this. I used to be deep into the weeds, and now, I'm playing for fun and, not chasing down.
Monty.
Anyway, so definitely the howdah appears on coins, but then the question is, like, in the early days, what did it always start with the howdah, or was it just like a couple guys riding on the back? And so, I was just kit bashing mine because that's all I had. I wanted something big, so I found a giant metal African elephant, put a Numidian on the back. And so actually Tor called me out. He walked up and he goes, "Where's your howdah?" And I was like, well, actually.
Monty, that's the 6th elephant faction, Numidians.
Oh, right.
I forgot about them. Now, they don't really have anything to keep the elephant alive, as far as I recall.
I don't either. I think it's mostly because you're all mounted and it's the one unit that can go crunch around in terrain if you need to, if you know what I mean. Or maybe he pulls stuff out with the kind of Numidian taunting thing, and then you trample. I don't know. It just gives you one, and you don't have to do it. There are people who do full flying circus. They don't have an elephant. But
I think the only way you're keeping that elephant alive in Numidia is just the number of models you can put in between the enemy and that
distract
elephant.
them. Look over here.
Because I don't think there's any fatigue slough. There really isn't any. There was no obvious combos that I saw there. Glad we got throw a bone to the Numidians out there before we call it. That's fun. Yeah, so looking forward to using the elephants going forward, and try them out. I think you'll have a lot of fun. That's kind of the best part about the Agents event is the percentage of elephants on the table. So, all right. Well, we're not done. Today we've got the paint contest, Monty, to announce. So this one is going to run from when this comes out. It will end on Sunday, October 29th. You might want to get it done before then so you can go trick-or-treating. Just saying that in the U.S. So let's do the before pick right now. I'll get those thumbs down, Monty. So post a before pick of your figures in front of the screen there so we know they're started. Now I should actually say what the contest is going to be. So thinking about it, we've done a few different things. We're going to give everybody the motivation to do 4 fancy objective markers. So that is going to be the paint contest this time. So look on the Book of Battles, the official objective marker base sizes are in there. There's a little range there, but 40 millimeter is typical and just fine. This could be the static objective markers, or it could be the kind that move for ambush, baggage. So I'll accept baggage, 3 baggage markers. If you can do objective and baggage markers, like some kind of combo, I think you'll get extra points. Monty, in our unofficial point system, what do you think? Dual duty, is that the holy grail?
Yeah, I do think that's fair. It's if you're going to do dual duty, you would want to spot some extra points. I don't
Right.
think I have any myself. Mine are all single duty. So
Yeah. So, whatever you want to do, though, if they're finally painted and look cool, you still got a good chance to win. So you need to get on over to the Saga Thursday Discord and post the before picture, post the after picture, and that's about it. Anybody participating in this will have a chance to win a 25-pound Gripping Beast gift certificate to their online store. So thank you to Gripping Beast. As always, they've supported every paint contest we've done so far. And if you do end up being the best, you'll get the Thirsty Thursday mug. Usually I do have one, but I don't today. Monty, do you got one?
Wait. There we go. Gosh, it's caught in the light.
Thirsty Thursday. Yeah.
There we go.
So happy to give those out.
A little shiny.
Yeah, and the rules for everything are in the description here. So moving on, we have the Saga Thursday Patreon. I want to give a shout out to the guys over there, specifically to Terry, Patrick, Sean, Mitchell, Scott, and Frank, and the rest of the Saga Thursday patrons. So those guys are responsible for the worldwide map, for all these additional videos that are happening every month, the faction reviews, battle reports, everything else. Wouldn't be doing it without the support of these guys. So thank you to every one of those. Thank you to Monty. You're a patron as well. So head on over there. There's a lot of benefits and bonuses and such. We'll be giving away one of the Rodge's painted units next month, and then in February, anybody who was a Hearthguard patron or higher throughout the entire year will have a chance to win a fully painted army painted by me.
Wow, that's awesome. That is amazing.
Set on that. So yeah, just go over there. Just check it out. There's stuff over there. You'll like it. As part of that, you do get additional video every month. So the one I did just last week was my Saga Storm review. So if you liked all this elephant chat, I talk more about the Carthaginians I built and painted, show those off. Then I talk about my games and how that all went down, and it's do a kind of a Carthaginian mini faction review after my thoughts after playing everything. So well worth it. Monty, sounded like you enjoyed it.
I loved it. You were spot on. I like that morning. I was like, I didn't have any calls, so I'm like, we're gonna cue this up in the background. I'm like, yes, truth.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Coming up next week. So this would be the 12th of October. We're having the Britons faction review with DJ, so thank you to him for stepping up to do that. And then the week after that, we have the Polish Grand Melee preview with Jan coming over, so spilling all the juicy details, and that was a fun one to record with him, old friend of the show. I think it probably comes out a week or two before the actual event, so yeah, get over there. If you're gonna sign up. Monty, are you heading over there this year?
To Poland?
To Poland, yeah.
Gosh, they put on a great show this year. No, but I would like. Oh my gosh, if I lived in Europe, I'd have the Euro Pass. I'd be just singing around like a pinball to every event I could.
Yeah, totally jealous of all the events over there, and it looks like they're putting another great show on. So we'll learn all about that in that video, but. Otherwise, comment below. We left the Numidians out the whole time till the very end. So if you're a Numidian player, just let us have it. Just lay it all out. And let us know why elephants are the bomb in the Numidian forest. But otherwise, if you play one of those factions we talk about, let us know if you take the elephant or not, what your thoughts are. If you never take the elephant, just curious to hear people's thoughts, because we had a blast and we enjoyed using those pachyderms, I will say. All right, I think we've done our duty for the day, Monty.
Yes, we have.
Say? All right, we will catch you folks later. Have a good one. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Saga. you'd like to see more Saga content, consider joining the Heathen Army over on Patreon or popping on down to the Saga Thursday Discord server. Links below. Thanks, guys.